That feeling of stuckness is your soul calling you to wake up. You might hear it through your intuition the way that I did. You might feel it in your body in a different way. We're going to be talking all about those things so that you can discover how your soul speaks to you, and so that you can differentiate between your authentic voice and the voice of fear, conditioning, programs, and how you can live free, how you can break free from all of the things that are limiting you and feel what it feels like to live as the youest you that you came here to be. Episode 1 of the Live Free Lifestyle podcast. Oh my gosh, you have no idea how long this has been an idea just stashed in my notes app. But here we are, and I am so excited to dive into the Live Free Lifestyle with you, because truly this is a life-changing way to be in the world. So I want to start off by saying welcome to the show. Welcome to the inaugural episode. I am your host, Leah Brathwaite. I'm an author, a soul advisor, a transformational coach, and the founder of the Live Free Method, which is my proprietary coaching methodology that transforms you from someone living in lack, in fear, and limitation, stuck in the patterns of the past, to someone who is living beyond the expectations of others, beyond people pleasing and perfectionism, living as your true and authentic self, guided by your soul's truth and your unlimited potential. Because here's the thing, it is my core belief that when you connect to the truest part of yourself, your soul, and you set it free to guide your way, it will lead you to a life beyond your wildest dreams. It has been my lived experience and the experience of hundreds of my clients around the world that this is the truth. You were born limitless. You were born with an infinite potential to realize all of the dreams that you have in your heart. And so this podcast is a way for me to tell these stories, to dive deeper into the practical and spiritual tools that you need to create, to manifest your best life and to experience your limitless self. So this is my way to reach more people and help them to experience their true power and realize that the truth is you were born to live free. And all of the love and money and success that you seek is your birthright. So I'm excited to dive in with this very first episode. And I don't know if you're anything like me, but the first thing that I always think of with any new podcast that I find is, who is this person and why should I care? Like, why do I want to hear what they have to say? Why is this valuable? Why is this important? So I love going back to the beginning to try to find the very first episode to hear their story. So whether you are kicking off this podcast with me on day one, or you found me years later and I've circled back to listen to this episode, I want to share with you my perspective, my point of view, so that you can see why this matters to you. You can see why you should listen. And maybe you'll hear something in my story that will help you along the way so that you can change something in your life without having to live through it. Or you can take the fast track because I've showed you the way. And I want you to know that everything that I share in this podcast comes from my lived experience. This is not theory. This is not just ideas that I have. This is my truth. This is my lived experience. So if you're into human design, you will understand what I say when I say that I'm a 3-5 generator. So if you're not into human design at all, it's a energy type, it's a profile type that learns through experience, through trial and error, and then takes that information, that lived experience, and turns it into leadership, turns it into tangible solutions, outside of the box thinking to save others the time, the struggle, and the energy that it took to arrive at those golden nuggets. So I want you to know that these are going to be practical things that I'm sharing with you that you can apply to your life and start to see incredible change. Because let's be honest, there's a lot of fluff and a lot of smoke out there, and your time is valuable. So I want to give you the good stuff from the get-go. So one thing that you're going to learn about me is that I'm a straight shooter. I like to just get to the point and get things done. If you're into astrology, I am a Sagittarius sun and rising and a Capricorn moon. So I love depth and practicality as much as I love freedom and fun. But above all, I value the truth. So I promise you will get no bullshit episodes that will take you on a journey to discovering your own truth and power so that you can live the life that you imagine for yourself. So I want to dive right into it with you and share some of my stories so that you can decide for yourself why you should listen to me, what value I can provide to you, and what things I have gone through that you can apply in your life, so that you can create some of the same things or you can avoid some of the pitfalls that I've experienced. So I say this because where I'm sitting today, sitting here recording this podcast in my beautiful home in Malibu, California, living on top of a mountain. The love of my life is next door in the room next door with our two dogs. I run this powerful, life-transforming company, the Live Free Lifestyle Inc., making an impact in the world, having a best-selling book, touching the lives of so many powerful and incredible clients. This place right here is very different from where I started. And I know specifically in personal development, even in entrepreneurship, it's so easy for us to look at somebody's chapter 10 and compare ourselves on our journey and think, oh, there's no way that I could do that, or I'm so far behind, or I don't even know if that's possible for me. And I want you to know that whatever it is that you desire and whatever it is that you admire in somebody else is also available to you. But it requires you to operate from a new paradigm. So what I talked about at the very outset, the Live Free Lifestyle, is about breaking free from limiting beliefs. It's about breaking free from those fearful patterns that we've learned, that we've adapted ourselves to, and that we find ourselves in that stuck feeling or that unfulfilled place in our lives. So there are so many pieces to my story and how I wound up here in this place now. And over the course of the following episodes, we're going to get to know each other deeper as this show unfolds. But I think what I would love to start with today is what I call my oh shit moment. And this is a moment that changed everything. And I say it's an oh shit moment because we all have those moments in life where we realize, oh shit. Something is happening. Something is about to change. You're either at a crossroads, there's a threshold that opens up, something monumental has happened in your life, and you realize that it is marking a before and an after. And you know that the steps that you take in this moment can change the trajectory of your life. And this is exactly what happened to me way back in 2014. Now, there was so much that led up to this part of my story, but I want to share this pivotal moment with you so that maybe you can relate, maybe you can see yourself in some of this. But it started on a regular Sunday afternoon. I had just come back from the grocery store. I was unpacking all of the groceries, putting things into this fridge. And to set a little bit of the context, this was the fridge that I had argued with my husband at the time for months about, because it was more expensive than any of the other fridges, but it was like a perfect counter depth fridge that matched perfectly in the house, in the kitchen that we were building, in this house that we were designing, that we were building from scratch. It was a dream come true in so many ways. And as I'm opening the double doors and putting the organic kale in the fridge, drops of that wetness falling from my hand, I had an oh shit moment. All of a sudden, it was like there was two versions of me being split in two. And I was putting my hand in the fridge while at the same time, all of a sudden I heard a really familiar, far away, internal, external voice that said, not for another moment. And as I heard that, I also thought, oh shit, something's happening. And it repeated itself, not for another moment. And I'm looking around because I'm alone in the house, like in the kitchen at this point. I'm looking around, nobody else is there, but I heard it clear as day. And I felt myself answer back, not what for another moment, not this. And I don't know if you've ever had one of those out-of-body experiences where you're looking around at your surroundings. I'm noticing like the grout color that I had picked out, the countertop, the fridge. I could see into the living room, all of the furniture perfectly placed. Like everything was perfect. Everything was exactly what I had chosen. Everything was what I thought I wanted. And in that moment, I realized not this life, not this way of living. Because what I sensed was, how did I get here? Whose life is this? I realized I had made all of those choices. I had made all of those decisions, but I was so disconnected from the experience of being in that life. And it's not like anything was wrong at this point. Everything was great, actually. Everything on paper looked amazing. In my dream home with this handsome husband, we have a really cute French bulldog. We're going on these amazing vacations. Everything seems to be, quote unquote, working out. I have no reason to not be happy. I have everything I thought I wanted. And at the same time, it hit me like a ton of bricks that I just felt so empty. I had everything, but I was anxious. I was depressed. I felt like I was living a lie. I didn't feel like there was me anywhere in this home, even though I was the one who had made all of those choices. And this was an awakening moment. Because as I'm standing there in the kitchen wondering, what the hell is going on? Am I losing my mind? My husband walks in and looks at me kind of like, are you okay? Probably because it looked like I wasn't okay. Probably because in that moment, I didn't feel okay. I was like, something is happening. And that was the moment where everything changed. Not because I had that intuitive insight, not because my soul was waking me up, but because I decided to tell the truth in that moment. When he asked, are you okay? I didn't do what I always used to do, which was like, yep, I'm fine. Not wanting anybody to think anything was wrong, not wanting to let on that anything was not perfect. And I said, I don't think so. I think there's something wrong. And I think I need to see a therapist. Those words just flooded out of my mouth. And that moment of honesty changed everything, because it was the first time that I was actually letting the truth of my experience internally become the reality that I expressed externally. Because up until that point, I had been living my life according to the expectations of others. I had been living and operating under the assumption that everybody else's happiness was my happiness, that there was a prescripted plan to follow. First you go to school, and then you get a good job, and then you get married, and then you buy a house, and then you work all this time. Maybe you have some kids. You're 65 by the time you get to retire, and then you get to enjoy your life, and then you get to live. I was doing the prescription, the script that everybody's handed out from a really early age. Everybody that I knew was doing that. And on top of that, I was raised in an incredibly restrictive religious environment as well. So I had a belief system that was impressed upon me that said, to be a good person, you have to do this. And if you do anything outside of this, you are a bad person. So I had very conflicting ideas about who I should be and what I should want from an internal perspective and an external expectation. So that moment of saying, I think there's something wrong and I need help, that was something that I was never willing to admit before. And in fact, in the religious community I was raised in, things like therapy and self-help were actually frowned upon. So for me to say these truths, boom, 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 one after another, was the moment that everything changed. And then I followed it up by action. I booked an appointment with a therapist. I went to see her, and everything started to unfold from there. The one question that she asked me that really shattered my paradigm and opened up a new way of thinking was, what do you want? What do you want? Seems like a simple enough question. But for somebody who had never stopped to think about that, It was profound. My answer to her initially was, well, I just want everybody to be happy. I want everybody around me to be happy. And as I was saying this, I was thinking, well, this is a very altruistic answer. She's going to think I'm a good person because I want to make everybody happy. And to my dismay, she said, okay, well, if there was nobody else around you, what would you want? And I had no idea. I didn't realize that I could make decisions for myself based on my desires. I didn't realize that it didn't make me a bad person to want things. I didn't realize that it wasn't selfish or that I wasn't greedy or that I wasn't ungrateful to have desires. And that opening of exploring what do I want was a really powerful way for me to start recognizing that our desires are actually divine direction. That the things that resonate as truth in our beings are guiding us on our way. That is our soul's way of dangling a little carrot for our human to move along the transformational journey of becoming our fullest, most expressed self. And so I don't want to lie to you and say that from there on, everything was magical and perfect and beautiful, and all of a sudden I manifested all of my dreams. In fact, it actually was the beginning of so many things releasing from my life. And at one point, it really did feel like a rock bottom. I left my religious community. I lost my entire community because when my beliefs changed, I was no longer in alignment with all of the people that I had been around my entire life. And in that community, when you leave, nobody's allowed to talk to you. When you allow yourself to make decisions that are aligned for you, that are no longer aligned with the teachings of the church, then you become somebody dangerous to the church. You become somebody dangerous to the community. And so they call it disfellowshipping. You're no longer allowed to fellowship with the people in that community. So I lost my entire community. And when I realized that I had made every single one of my life decisions based on a belief system that I was no longer aligned with, I had to start reevaluating those decisions. And one of those big decisions was my marriage. I had married somebody in the church because that was what you do. Marry only in the Lord. They instilled that in us, scripture after scripture, that you could only marry somebody who was in the same faith. And even though it was a great guy, it wasn't an aligned relationship. We were fundamentally very different. We wanted very different things out of life. And when I recognized that I had made a decision based on a paradigm or a version of myself that was operating under a program outside of my original blueprint, the marriage couldn't continue. And gratefully, thankfully, we were able to end it amicably, peacefully, respectfully, and find our own ways through life. But at the time, it was really challenging to lose my entire community, to lose my marriage, to lose like the extended family that came along with my in-laws, to lose my faith, to have to rediscover who I really was, what I wanted, and what I was meant to do was the journey of a lifetime. And it's what led me to creating the Live Free lifestyle, or the Live Free method. And it's the methodology that I teach all of my clients. I'm going to be sharing it all with you over the course of the episodes in this podcast so that you can live free too. So that if you find yourself in a life that doesn't feel like your own, if you find yourself operating under fear, under limiting beliefs, under assumptions about what is available to you based on your past or based on your upbringing, then this is for you. This is to let you know that there is a new way of life that is available to you. There's a way for you to move in the world that is completely aligned with the integrity of who you came here to be. And you can find that out, and you can live that out for the rest of your days. That is what I call living free, being fully aligned with the truth of your soul and letting it guide your way. Because when you follow that path, it truly does lead you to a life beyond your wildest dreams. So before 2014, I had been making decisions based on what I was told based on what other people thought was good for me, get a practical job. So I chose to be a very practical dental hygienist. I went to school, studied hard, graduated honors, got a job, then upgraded to another job, and was what people would call successful in that career. But it was misaligned with my truth. I really didn't want to spend my life cleaning teeth. That wasn't the ambition that I had when I was younger. I wanted to travel. I wanted to be free. I wanted to teach. I wanted to learn. I wanted to explore, to express, to be lit up by life. But I was told that you can only do those things 65 and over, once you've worked really hard, created a bit of a nest egg for yourself, and allowed yourself to do the practical things that would allow you some freedom in the end. So this practical job that I had that made sense, because to me, what I thought about was, what's the highest paying job I can get with the least amount of school? And at the time, it ended up being dental hygiene. And I was like, oh, okay, well, I can help people and I can, yeah, sounds great. But your soul will always try to wake you up to your truth, whether it whispers or it shouts. And in 2014 in the kitchen, that was a shout. But I had another shout back in 2010 when my soul was trying to wake me up to who I really was. I had been working as a dental hygienist for 5 years, and I was good at my job. My patients loved me. My boss loved me. I could say that I enjoyed it for the most part. Was I passionate about it? Was it my purpose? Absolutely not, but it was good enough. It wasn't terrible. It paid well. It allowed me to do some of the things that I wanted to do. I could do things on the weekends. We could save up for a house. We could go on vacation. So it wasn't all bad, but it certainly wasn't all good. And it certainly wasn't fulfilling. Over time, what happened? Doing the practical thing, trying to morph myself into this version that I thought I needed to be, my body started to break down. Because here's the truth I want you to know. Everything is energy, and the way that you express your energy matters. If you're expressing through your authenticity, if you're expressing through your truth, that energy flows through your body the way that it is meant to. And if you are not, if you are contracting, contorting yourself to try to be something that you're not, to try to make yourself acceptable to others, that energy gets stuck in different areas in your body. Dis-ease starts to form. There's not a free flow of energy. There's a distortion of that energy. And in my case, it manifested in a physical manifestation of a wild nerve condition that literally ended my career. And at the time, it was the most devastating thing that happened. In 2010, at the age of 27, I became permanently disabled. Out of nowhere, doctors could not explain it. I went for multiple MRIs. I went for nerve conduction studies. I saw multiple specialists. Nobody could explain what was going on. They just said, well, it's an idiopathic neuropathy, meaning it's a nerve condition that we have no idea where it came from. But if you want to save the function of your hand, you're going to need this radical surgery to transpose the nerve, move it around, and hopefully that will give you some relief. So 2010, I get this wake-up call. My career is ended, and the question started, who am I? Like, I knew I wasn't my job because I was like, okay, I no longer have my job. I no longer technically have that title, and I'm obviously still here. So I am not my job. But I don't know who I am without my job. That question was a wake-up call. That question was a moment for me to start recognizing that there was more to my life than what I had been conditioned or what I had been programmed to believe. That who I was wasn't the job that I did. It wasn't the things that I called myself, but there was another part of me that was available to be explored. But, as I said, I was in this religious community, this environment that didn't appreciate those types of questions. If it wasn't found in the Bible, then it wasn't true, and then you shouldn't do it. And if it wasn't spoken from the platform, then it was not something you should question. But I questioned it anyways. I snuck into the self-help section of my local bookstore, and I found a book that opened me up to a different perspective. It taught me about meditation. It taught me about the self. And as I was reading it, I could feel this feeling in my body that I hadn't felt in years, this aliveness, truth. It felt like a remembering, like I know this. I don't know how I know this. I've never read this before, but I feel like this is true. I feel like this could be real. And as I got excited about it and as I started to explore it more, it brought me to an edge of realizing if I continue to go down this path, I have a feeling that things are going to change. And I wasn't ready for more change. I had already become disabled. I had already lost my job. That was a hard enough thing to experience. I was afraid of more change. I was afraid of who I would be if I continued to explore. So what did I do? I put the book away. I thought, that's nice, but it's not for me. And I decided to double down on going to church. I decided to double down on being a good housewife. I decided to double down on the things that I already knew how to do because that felt safer. And I was able to manifest through that way. I was able to manifest disability insurance so I didn't have to work, so that I could dedicate myself to being the perfect wife and the perfect Christian servant. And I allowed that to be enough for me until it wasn't. So what I want you to take from this is that there's always going to be opportunities for you to wake up. Your soul will whisper, your soul will shout when those whispers are no longer being observed or when you're not taking action on those whispers. But there's always the opportunity for you to change your life. The sooner you do it, the better. Because it took me another 4 years. It took me another home. At that point, there was so much more to deconstruct. But there's never a time that it's too late for you to make a change in your life. So if you're starting to notice these whispers, if you're starting to notice the manifestations in your body, and it doesn't have to be as dramatic as a disabling condition. It can be anxiety. It can be feelings of depression. It can be a lack of fulfillment. It can be dissatisfaction. Those are all whispers. Those are all energies that are moving through your system, alerting you to something is off. Because when something is on, when you're flowing, when you're aligned with your soul, when you're moving in alignment with your truth, when you are in your power, it feels very different. I'm sure you can recognize that feeling. You feel alive. You feel adventurous. You feel passionate. You feel like things are tingling, like the universe is responding, like there's serendipity and synchronicity and magic is happening. And when that is not happening, there's an opportunity for growth. There's an opportunity for realignment. Is it always easy? No. If it was, everybody would be doing it. But is it always worth it? It is my experience, and it is the experience of so many of the incredible humans that I have supported through their transformation, that yes, 100%, it is always worth being who you came here to be. It is always worth living the life that is meant for you. It's always worth going after your dreams and leaning into your potential and seeing what's available for you, because the truth is, it's all possible. There is no limit. Your mind will tell you otherwise. Society might tell you otherwise. Your parents, your community might tell you otherwise, but the truth of your soul is that you are limitless and that you are always being guided on your path to your highest potential, if you're willing to follow the nudges. So if you are somebody who resonates with this story, if you're somebody who has found yourself in situations where you've built something that looks really great from the outside, but on the inside, it feels like you're dying, or it feels like you're living a life, or if you're somebody who is experiencing some of those smaller whispers, an underlying anxiety, an angst in your chest when you wake up on Monday mornings, or you find yourself feeling completely alone when you're surrounded by people, or you know that there is more for you, this podcast is for you. What we're going to be going through in these episodes is how you can uncover your power, your truth, and live the life that you came here to live. That feeling of stuckness is your soul calling you to wake up. You might hear it through your intuition the way that I did. You might feel it in your body in a different way. We're going to be talking all about those things so that you can discover how your soul speaks to you. And so that you can differentiate between your authentic voice and the voice of fear, conditioning, programs, and how you can live free, how you can break free from all of the things that are limiting you and feel what it feels like to live as the youest you that you came here to be. Because I spent 30 years living a lie before I hit my breaking point where I was finally willing and ready to listen. And I don't want that for you. You don't need to spend 30 years living a lie before you start living the life that you're meant for and before you start seeing the magic that is available to you when you are in alignment. Every day that you wait, you're moving further and further away from your authentic self, and you're building a life that is not truly your own. So my invitation to you is to join me on this journey, to join me inside of the Live Free Lifestyle, this podcast, the experiences, the coaching that I offer, and allow yourself to make your mark on the world. That's one of the things that I sign off with on all of my personal emails. Free your soul, make your mark. Because when you live free, you make the impact that you came here to make. And we are all here to make a difference. Your unique frequency, your unique experience is one that nobody else on the planet will ever have. And the legacy that you are here to leave comes from you offering that beautiful frequency, that song for all of humanity to experience. So that's a bit of the nutshell of where I started from. Disabled, depressed, going through a divorce, to creating a global personal and spiritual development brand that touches millions of lives around the world, personally supporting hundreds and hundreds of incredible souls to their own truth, to their own power, their realization of freedom, fulfillment, and joy, to living on top of a mountain in Malibu when I started from a little city in Ontario, Canada, to just having the most magical adventures, the most incredible opportunities, meeting the most amazing human beings, and living a life that truly lights me up. This is what I want for every single person. So if you are here, it's not by accident. If you are listening to this, there is a reason. I believe that your soul led you to this moment so that you can see yourself in this story. You can see yourself in this possibility. You can recognize that you're not alone, that there is support. You're not crazy for wanting more. It is meant for you. And I am here to show you the way. It's my greatest honor to do this work. So I want to thank you so much for being here on this journey with me. I have the most incredible episodes planned for this show. I have some beautiful and inspiring guests who will be joining me every once in a while. People who have made radical changes in their lives, people who are living free in their own way. So what you can expect from this podcast, it's not about positive thinking or quick fixes. This is about the deep work to uncover who you really are, what you really want, what you're meant to do, and the tools that you need to be able to do it. I'm going to share with you what worked in my life, what didn't work, what I see for my clients, what manifestations are coming into my world, what's available for you, all of the things that I wish I'd known sooner, and all of the things that I continue to learn along the way. So if you're ready to live a life beyond your wildest dreams, if you are ready to live free, in your power, in your authenticity, in your truth, and in your purpose, you are in the right place. And I want to say, welcome to the Live Free Lifestyle. Thank you so much for being here, and I can't wait to see you in the next episode.